A very good evening to you. Welcome to News Tonight here on GHOne Television with me, Bernice Abubeidulansa. Coming up in this hour-long bulletin, GHOne cast doubt on successful implementation of Blue Water Initiative barely 72 hours after it was launched. We've got details as we engage the media coalition against Galamsey.
We will help our established institutions to fight and prevent pollution, collaborating with our community. We will work hand in hand with local communities.
And push for new parliamentary facilities receives widespread criticism. Details as Minority Leader says he was re-echoing the Speaker of Parliament's vision and has been misinterpreted. Also in this package, Accra High Court discharges Oliver Bakavomawo in treason felony case as he explains his absence in today's proceedings was in protest of the court's handling of the matter.
No, I think that we need to reckon with what has happened. So this is not a time for me to celebrate or jubilate. It was a matter of course for me that history or justice must happen.
We've got details of these and more right here on News Tonight. Please stay with us. Thank you so much for your company. The details now. Barely 72 hours after its launch, the Deputy National Director of GHOne, Darubosu, has cast doubt on the successful implementation of government's Blue Water Initiative. Speaking to GH1 News, he noted that though laudable, the initiative does not provide any strategic operational support to the needs of the people on ground.
Blue Water Initiative was one that was proposed by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to address the current devastating and also the polluted water situation that we have in the country, which for us we think is a good initiative because it is very needed. If you consider how much Galamsey operators have destroyed almost all rivers that suppliers of drinking water and also water for agricultural services, it is very important that this be done. But we need to say that we don't see the place of the river guards, considering the fact that it does not offer any strategic operational support to the needs of the people on the ground. I mean, if you go to the communities right now, what communities need is the fact that they see their rivers being constantly polluted by Galamsey operators. They don't have anybody listening to them and providing them support in terms of rapid response to address the menace that Galamsey is inflicting on their community lands and also on their rivers. So communities need people who will be on standby to provide them enforcement and compliance support. They are not getting that. Because for a long time, the community themselves have done very well in reporting on a lot of the illegalities happening in their communities. So if you are now saying that you are going to employ people just to report on what is happening to our rivers, then you have not done anything.
Now, hopefully we'll come back to the story when we're able to raise Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe on the line. He's the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey for more on this. But away from that, for now, the High Court in Accra has officially discharged social activist Oliver Bakavomawo of all treason felony charges in a case where he was alleged to have threatened to stage a coup. This follows an official withdrawal of the charges against him by the Attorney General upon the entry of a nolle prosequi on March 12. In court on Tuesday, March 18, 2025, state prosecutors led by A.C. Yanka, a principal state attorney, informed the court of the Attorney General's decision to withdraw the charges. A legal affairs correspondent Murtala Inusa has more.
It is now official. Oliver Barker-Vormawor, the social activist who was arrested February 11, 2022 for allegedly threatening to overthrow government and charged with 2 counts of treason felony, has been officially discharged by the High Court. This was after the state has entered a nolle prosequa, and the High Court in Accra, presided over by Justice Mary Mami Ikwe-Yenzu, has been officially notified, and Oliver has been discharged of the charges pressed against him. What is clear is that Oliver will no longer appear before court to stand trial after the Attorney General's discontinuation of the trial. What this withdrawal notice to the court means is that the AG is informing the court that they do not intend to prosecute the matter, and for that matter, Oliver should be discharged. But Oliver, who was discharged today, was not present in court when Justice Mary Mami Ikwe-Yenzu was discharging him. But for those who have been following this case, will remember that from the 11th, when he was picked up from the airport, on the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, he made an appearance at the Ashaiman District Court. Fast forward, he was denied bail at the District Court, but later on, the Tema High Court, presided over by Justice Daniel Mensah, granted him bail. And fast forward, he was committed to stand trial after the Attorney General at the time, Godfred Yeboah-Dami, advised that he be officially charged with 2 counts of treason felony. The matter started at the High Court on September 1, 2022, and fast forward, it made some appearances at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court made a ruling that the state should amend the charge sheet because at some point in time, lawyers of Oliver Barker raised issues about the potency of the particulars of offense. They said that the charge sheet was defective, and for that matter, it ought not to be the case for Oliver to stand trial. But the Supreme Court directed the prosecution to amend the charge sheet, which they did. But interestingly, Oliver exercised his right under the Criminal and Procedure Code not to plead to the charges. In his view, the charges were defective. But of course, the court, also relying same on statute, entered a not guilty plea. The court was expected to empanel a jury for the trial to commence. But on the 12th of March 2025, the Attorney General's office filed a nolle prosequa notifying the court of the Attorney General's intention not to proceed with the trial. Officially, A.C. Yanka, a principal state attorney, brought that formally to the attention of Justice Mary Yenzu. Subsequently, the charges were struck out and Oliver Barker discharged. From the Law Court Complex here in Accra, Murtala Inusa, GHOne.
Well, Mr. Barker-Vormawor has been speaking to my colleague Murtala Inusa, and he's been reacting to that withdrawal by the Attorney General. He has described his absence from court today as a protest against the court's handling of the case.
To be perfectly honest with you, for me, it's also an intentional attempt to treat the courts with contempt. Absolutely disregard for a judiciary that allows itself to be used in the manner in which it was used. So this was in fact a protest at the court, and so at this particular judge who has allowed herself to be used in this manner. So that is why I wasn't in presence, and in fact advised counsel also not to show up in court for this one. I mean, as accused persons when we are before these courts, we are in an extreme position of vulnerability and weakness. And the Constitution intends that judges who are faithful to their oath will recognize that they have a duty to protect constitutional rights of accused persons. Throughout the entirety of this process, we have seen an individual who has shown complete disregard for constitutional democracy. It was judges like her that enabled the previous government that were used to persecute persons who were dissenting or political opponents of the government. And so this is my own small way of protest at what she had allowed her courts to be used for.
Mr. Vormawor has also been saying that the withdrawal of this case was an open secret.
To be, if you want my perfectly frank reaction, I'm surprised that it has taken this long. I mean, I assume that it was going to be one of the first acts with the Attorney General coming in, but whatever the case may be, I think it has been an open secret that this was going to happen for some time. Myself, there's a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings going through my mind. Obviously, I recognize that the Republic has taken a step that sets an injustice right. But I think that the bigger question I continue to ask myself is, if we have a democracy that allows this to happen, we have a democracy that allows a FOCO to happen, are we in fact protected by the constitutional rights that we have? You know, and if, you know, certain individuals have a chance and an opportunity to be in control of the state, the things that they can get away with, if our constitution does not block these things, then our democracy is in fact in danger. So there's a bit of relief that, you know, an injustice has been corrected. I think that the reckoning we have to have over how this was allowed to happen for so long, with the complicity of the courts, the fact that, you know, other citizens can be in danger of malicious prosecution, which is motivated by the state, gives me great concern, you know. And this goes beyond my own personal losses that I've suffered in this matter.
We stay a while on legal issues. The judiciary has reaffirmed its commitment to promoting alternative dispute resolution, ADR, as an effective means of resolving conflicts. Speaking at the launch of ADR Week in Kumasi, Her Lordship Angelina Mensah Momia, the judge in charge of ADR in Kumasi, underscored the need for businesses and individuals to embrace ADR for faster and more cost-effective dispute resolution. Ashanti Regional Correspondent Isaac Justice Bidiako has more.
Speaking to the media at the ADR Week launch, Justice Angelina Mensah Momia described ADR as the savior of the justice system. She explained it offers an efficient means of resolving disputes in the modern world due to its numerous benefits over traditional litigation. She also revealed that as of now, 188 courts across the country are connected to the ADR system, with more expected to join by the end of the year. Justice Mensah Momia encourage judges to continue sensitizing court users about the benefits of ADR to encourage its use.
Our judges also take it upon themselves to sensitize court users. Courtroom sensitization is something that the judges and magistrates have been doing all the time, and we encourage them to do it on a continuing basis. And the reason is that when the disputants or the court users come to court and they hear from the horse's own mouth, they hear from the judge that ADR is the best method of resolving the dispute, it is our belief that they will opt for ADR to resolve their disputes.
Supervising High Court Judge in Kumasi, Justice Hannah Taylor, also emphasized the importance of ADR in the judicial system. Quoting former U.S. Chief Justice Warren Burger, she noted that while many perceive courts as the primary avenue for dispute resolution, most people prefer swift and amicable settlements. She urged stakeholders to take advantage of ADR mechanisms, noting that its adoption would significantly reduce the backlog of cases in the courts, allowing the judiciary to focus on more complex legal matters.
The top cause lists will be reduced, making room for more contentious cases to be resolved expeditiously, since these cases will not compete with more cases for a judicial hearing. This week's activities make space for various stakeholders to add to their knowledge the benefits of ADR, with expectation that we will all embrace ADR tenants and overcome challenges to ADR.
The Ashanti Regional President of the Ghana Bar Association, Kwame Owusu-Setre, also acknowledged ADR's role in reducing legal congestion. He, however, expressed concern about the use of the media for dispute resolution, including marital issues.
The constitution that we practice, that we use in this nation, recognizes that the judicial power rests with us, but it is exercised on their behalf by the judiciary. Thankfully, the judiciary has gone through a process where we now have ADR as part of the justice delivery system. And our commercial court is there for us. So the issue where people take their matters to the media for adjudication doesn't work, and it is unconstitutional. And my lords, we beseech that this issue had to be resolved.
The ADR week is observed to promote awareness and encourage the use of alternative dispute resolution mechanisms across country. The initiative is part of ongoing judicial reforms aimed at improving access to justice and reducing litigation burdens.
That'll be all for legal matters. We now focus on insight. On Insight tonight, the push for new parliamentary facilities has sparked widespread criticism, with analysts and citizens dismissing it as misplaced. Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin advocated for the construction of a new parliamentary chamber and a dedicated hospital for MPs during the inauguration of the 9th Parliamentary Service Board. Now, he argued that a dedicated health facility would safeguard the medical records of parliamentarians. Now, subsequently, he's been clarifying his position on X. He says that media reportage on his statements have been misleading. Let me bring you some extracts of that statement on X. Now, he says, unfortunately, much of the media coverage on my comments has been misleading, creating gross misconceptions about my position. For clarity, my remarks were in response to issues first raised by the Speaker and were only re-echoing the vision of the Speaker for Parliament. The Speaker bemoaned the state of insecurity in Parliament, highlighting the vulnerability of MPs and parliamentary service staff to potential threats. In response, I suggested that if enhancing security within the current chamber is not feasible, we may have to consider a new chamber with the necessary security features to ensure a safer working environment. On healthcare, the Speaker also raised concerns about medical care for MPs and parliamentary service staff. While Parliament currently has a clinic, I suggested that it could be upgraded into a parliamentary hospital, similar to the 37 Military Hospital, Police Hospital, Bank of Ghana Hospital. Such a facility would not only serve MPs and parliamentary staff, but also retired officers, retired MPs, and where applicable, the general public. Parliament, as an arm of government, operates under intense schedules. Establishing a well-equipped medical facility within Parliament is a standard practice in many democratic nations, ensuring that those who serve the country can access prompt, confidential, and a cost-effective healthcare when needed. I also raised the issue of confidentiality, where oftentimes parliamentary service staff, former MPs, and current MPs are unable to patronize other public health facilities due to the confidential and sensitive nature of their health concerns. This proposal should therefore not be misinterpreted as a call for special privileges, but rather as a functional necessity, just as other critical institutions such as the military, police, SNIT, Cocoa Board, and Bank of Ghana have their own dedicated medical facilities. Now, he made those statements on X, and to support his stance, he attached a video of the Speaker's remarks on the matter.
We have lost members of Parliament as a result of some of the issues of security. We lost some staff as a result of issues of health care. Some, unfortunately, could have been saved. And so the issues that have been raised, I think that we will discuss at arm's length, and we will definitely take the decision that will inure to the benefit of every Ghanaian. And so we have taken all that into consideration. And as we grow, we have to look at upgrading and at least adding on to what we have now to make sure that we are able to provide sufficient facilities to support the community to deliver what Ghanaians want.
Now let's listen to the majority leader in parliament who thinks otherwise. He immediately opposed the minority leader's call for the facilities.
Issue of security, I do agree that we need to rethink the way that our compound is arranged, how that affects security and access to our offices and the chamber and etc. I don't think that the security issues warrant a discussion about constructing a new chamber. At this stage, when this country is confronted with multiple financial challenges. So that again, I totally disagree with my colleague, the minority leader, that we should be discussing the construction of a new chamber for Parliament. I believe that what we have has served us well over the years, and we can continue to do well in the facility.
Now, many have argued that the call by the minority leader is unwarranted. Executive Director of the African Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. GHOne, has described it as needless.
I am not too sure that we need a new chamber, especially because, in the 6th Parliament, during the time of Right Honorable GHOne, a major renovation was done to the current chamber. Mm-hmm. And just recently, under the 8th Parliament, a lot of investments have been made already. And I think, for me, apart from the financial argument, the preservation of history and tradition is very, very important. A few years ago, when Right Honorable Michael Kru was Speaker, there was an attempt, and there was a huge uproar in this country. At that time, we were not facing the same economic challenges that we do face today. So I think there is everything against that argument. Rather, I think they should try and see how they can let this one work for us as a country so that we can preserve some history.
Public health analyst Samuel Arthur has also rejected the idea of an MPs-only hospital. He insists Parliament should prioritize national healthcare reforms rather than special privileges for legislators. He called for stronger laws to also protect patient confidentiality across the board.
For such a statement to come from none other person than the minority leader, I feel a bit scandalized. This is unfortunate, particularly looking at the kind of health sector we have. For me, this thing is a non-starter. It doesn't make sense, and we don't even have to waste our time on it. Now, what mischief are we seeking to deal with? He's talking about confidentiality. Now, he is a lawmaker. He should know better. For me, he would have come from the point of law, where medical doctors or clinicians are expected to keep confidential information about people's health status. So if that is being breached, I would have expected that he would have called for a law to stricter and stringent measures on the clinicians and practitioners, so anybody who flouts the law will be dealt with, such that there's a deterrent. But to say that because of confidentiality, privacy, who doesn't need privacy?
Now let's speak to Ernesto Yeboah. He is founding leader of the Economic Fighters League, and if you may recall, the Drop That Chamber protest, and you will remember Ernesto Yeboah and how he, together with a lot of young Ghanaians, fought against it at the time. I don't know what they make of it now. Hello, Ernesto. It's been a while. Has this come to the attention of the Economic Fighters League, the call by the minority leader for a hospital that caters for the needs of MPs and for a new chamber if the current chamber cannot address the security concerns raised by the Speaker of Parliament? What are your thoughts?
Well, thank you very much, Dennis, and good evening to your cherished viewers. Like I have already said on many other platforms, I think it's very disappointing, because the NPP is the only minority, party in the chamber, and so we expect much more from them. We expect that they are able to carry out systematic research that reads the public mood, public sentiments, public opinion, so that every time they are speaking, the officers are speaking, they are speaking based on some grounded evidence. Unfortunately, they seem to be in a different world altogether, and it's quite disappointing to watch. I'm only left to say that at this point we have a vacuum in finding a credible alternative to the government. Because if this is what the only opposition party in Parliament is preoccupied with, then we are in a very difficult and painful place.
But so what exactly is your concern? Is it that you disagree that MPs need a facility that caters to their needs? The minority leader cites facilities like the SNIT hospital, the 37 military hospital, which we all know was created initially to cater for the needs of military persons, and then the public also has access to it. He talks about these facilities that cater for special institutions, but also the general public. Do you disagree? Parliament has a clinic. If Parliament has a clinic, what's the challenge with upgrading it to a hospital?
I think that it's not even an idea to entertain at this point, and that, of course, he's a politician, and I mean the duty of every politician, in the very least, is to be able to read the public sentiments and to be able to understand what the times are. The fact that he prioritizes this particular conversation over every other issue is for me where the problem is, and the fact that he doesn't even seem to understand what the public uproar is about is for me the most concerning aspect. Because look, if we have to look at the healthcare of the country, we have to look at it, across board. Are they more important than you and I, that they require a special hospital? And he goes further to indict. In fact, I'm scandalized. He goes further to indict health workers, hard-working health workers in this country, as not being capable of holding confidential information. Has any of our health professionals, gone out there with people's health records? If there is, then he's a lawmaker. What has he done about it? And so to seek this exclusivity in the midst of, chaos is for me the most problematic of all, and very disappointing to say that.
Right. But the minority leader also thinks that he's been misrepresented. He says that he's only re-echoing the concerns of the Speaker of Parliament, and so it must be seen in that light, and they were handling broader issues. But you've spoken.
Dennis,
yes.
Dennis, quick one. Is Honorable Mahama Yariga also a member of Parliament? He also had the opportunity to speak on the same issue, and he disagreed. And that, in the very least, is what we're expecting from Mr. Afenyo-Markins. If you couldn't disagree, perhaps just keep quiet, because at this point, it only serves to annoy the people of Ghana for all the pain and difficulty that they have sent us through, only for them to come to opposition and still be talking in the same manner that sends them out of power. I think the MPP hasn't learned its lessons yet, because if they have, I don't think that their chief spokesperson in Parliament will be speaking the way he's done.
And even going further, another justification. Another justification for Mr. Afenyo-Markins is that they attend to a lot of pressing national issues, and sometimes not just for them as MPs, but the staffers as well. They have to do a lot of work, some of them under some certificate of urgency and all that. So if they have their own facility, they can cater for their needs as quickly as they can and return to attending to national business. Doesn't that sound, convincing in your ears?
It's not. It's not, and it's totally unfounded. Why Rich Hospital is just a few seconds away from Parliament. So really,
but
what
they would have to
need?
join queues, and so they would want their own facility so
But
that
that's the general conditions that people face in the country. Why should they be exempted from all of that? Why should they be given that kind of a privilege?
because
There
they're
are
attending to
many
pressing
other
national
hospitals across the
needs.
country. There is a Bank of Ghana hospital, there's a 37 military hospital, there's a Kolebu teaching hospital. There are so many hospitals scattered all over. In fact, I hope that President Mahama will take the opportunity to ban all his ministers and government appointees from seeking healthcare outside the country, because it doesn't make sense. If you are preparing food and you are not ready to taste it, it speaks volumes of what you think about the food and what you may have in there. And as citizens, we need to start asking some of these questions. It shouldn't be just an Ernesto Yeboah or some civil society organizations, but all of us letting them understand that this is a crazy idea and we should not allow it to stand.
Thank you very much for your time, Ernesto Yeboah there joining us, sharing his thoughts on the push for new parliamentary facilities to help in facilitating the work, at least one of the justifications we've received from Mr. Afenyomarkin, to help in facilitating the work of Parliament. Well, some of you have been speaking to GH1 News about what you make of this push.
Minority Leader Alexander Afenyomarkin is calling on government to build a new hospital and chamber for parliamentarians to safeguard their medical history. Now let's hit the streets to gather reactions from Ghanaians on the minister's proposal.
I say it's total misplaced priority, because where Ghana has gotten to before there was a change of government, it is unnecessary to call for such a thing to be done.
The ordinary Ghanaians say they shouldn't do it, and they decide to do it. If only the majority side is not supporting, that what we are also saying will not work. But if the majority side is supporting, what we are saying outside, it won't help.
I don't feel they have to have their own hospitals. What I think is that if you are having good doctors in our country, then each and every one needs to have the same doctors in order for them to treat them well. If you are having different ones, then I think they are going to get the best doctors, and then we, the citizens in our country, are going to have the bad ones.
They should maintain the hospitals around, and let's use the rest of the money to help the country, because we are really suffering.
My view as a Ghanaian is that we are all Ghanaians, so they should use the same hospitals we use, because Rawlings went to 37 hospital, but unfortunately he passed away, and Atamo still went to the same hospital. So we are all Ghanaians, so they should attend the same hospital we attend. But the problem is they are afraid of the hype they will get at the hospital. But no, they should know that the hype they will get at the hospital is not the same hype they will get in town. Maybe people come for treatment at the hospital. They don't have that time for those hype. So they should maintain the hospitals we use in the country.
Those were some reactions of Ghanaians on Afenyomarkin's proposal. While some believe that the minister had some merit in his proposal, others were of the opinion like the Rich Hospital behind me is well equipped to cater to the privacy and security needs of the political class. Reporting for GH1 TV, I am Theophilus Asare-Boafo.
And here in our studios at the Platinum Place, I'm Bernice Abubedulans, and that's how we end Insight. Thank you so much for staying here on News Tonight with me, Bernice Abubedulan. So now the Interior Minister, Muntaka Mubarak, has revealed that no person involved in the disruption of the Council of State elections in the Ashanti region has been arrested. You may recall the Council of State elections in that region on February 17, 2025 was disrupted by some unidentified individuals, leading to its postponement. In response to questions from Minority Leader Afinyo Marking, the Interior Minister disclosed the police has been given 1 month to provide an update on their investigations into the matter.
I have given the police administration up to the end of this month to give me an update. But as to whether the investigation will be completed, like I said, they are looking at the footage and trying to identify the perpetrators, get them arrested and prosecuted. And as you may know, if you identify someone and you cannot find that person, how will you be able to say that at this particular date I can finish? But the update, I'm sure they will give me periodic updates, and at the end of this month I expect an update from the police administration on how far they've gone with the investigation and whether they've been able to make some arrests, and if they have, what they are doing. So surely when I get those updates and you are interested, why not? I'll let you know.
We were told of some initial arrests. The media reported of some initial arrests. And these thugs interrupted the proceedings in a broad daylight. And we're told of some initial arrests. Can the minister tell us the status of prosecution of those who were initially arrested? The incident having taken place in a broad daylight.
The minority that is telling me there was some arrest. My report doesn't indicate so. So I'll find out from the police, because what the media reports may be different from what the police report. So I'll cross-check from the police whether truly on that said day there were some arrests. But what they told me was that they are reviewing the CCTV footage and they will be able to identify the people, because like you rightly said, it's a daylight thing, so you'll be able to identify who first jumped over the barricade and all that. Then they'll pick it from, but the information to me hasn't indicated that there was any arrest on that day.
Security analyst Emmanuel Kutin has joined us for more on this. Thank you so much for your time. It's quite an unpleasant scene in Parliament, seeing the minority leader challenge, if I may say so, the Interior Minister on the accuracy on what he told Parliament today. The media on the 17th of January of February had indicated that there were some arrests, and it's across many media platforms. Now, nearly a month after this incident, we are hearing the Interior Minister say no arrest has been made. How does this come across to you?
Having me, and very good evening to your cherished listeners. I think it's quite unfortunate the play out in Parliament today between the minority leader and the Minister of Interior. The truth of the matter is that there was no any suspect arrested. When the news broke, we did our checks from the police, especially from the Public Relations Department or the police headquarters. You know, under the IGP Dampare, information was kind of centralized. So there was no way you could get information from the regional command where the incident took place. And this is the challenge I have with our media today. We are interested in sensational reportage and breaking news. We don't follow up on stories to find out whether indeed those stories are true or otherwise. And no one can fault the Interior Minister. He spoke the truth based on the facts and briefing from the police as an institution. My only difficulty is the assertion of the minister that he has given the police up to a month to come out with updates on the incident. If that is the way we are to go about fighting crime in this country, I'm afraid we can't even confront any single crime in this country. But these are the fault lines, and it's not an NDC problem. I think it's a political issue in this country, where we have our security agencies overly and politicized. You recall that when the incident happened, Apparently, the allegation was that the NDC candidate or the candidate the government was kind of supporting was losing. And these tax were NDC tax who came to disrupt the process in the broad daylight. And given technology and the times we find ourselves, I don't think this kind of crime should take us about a week to be able to unravel and arrest the alleged perpetrators. But you can also recall when the NPP was in power, we had NPP tax going to no place than the courts to disrupt the process and free its supporters. And this is what we as security watchers, we are so worried. This kind of activities portend a very serious threat to our democracy. And if you look at the historical antecedent of the police as an institution, it has always favored the regime and not the citizen. It's only in the fourth Republican Constitution from 1992 we tried to kind of change the structures, and that was when we introduced the concept of community policing. Right. But I think all in all the security agencies as we have now need some security sector reforms. At least we should be able to have a strategy and implementation plan so that when there are changes at the hems of affairs of all these security agencies,
all right, Mr. Kote,
we have continuity.
Right, well noted. Thank you so much for your time this evening. That's Emmanuel Kutin, a security analyst, sharing his thoughts on that issue about whether or not there were some arrests made in relation to the confusion that characterized the Ashanti Region Council of State elections. Away from that, the Chaplain General of the Ghana Police Service, Very Reverend DCOP George Arthur, has asked the newly appointed Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete GHOne, to rectify administrative and operational lapses from the previous administration. Speaking during a Thanksgiving service, he urged the new IGP to not only correct past mistakes, but also build upon the successes of his predecessor.
The appointment of COP Christian Tete GHOne as Ghana's new Inspector General of Police was met with widespread jubilation among police personnel. The overwhelming reaction reflected a sense of long-awaited relief from what many viewed as a period of constraint and hardship within the service. During a Thanksgiving service at the Joy House Chapel at Lashibi on Sunday, March 16, the Chaplain General of the Ghana Police Service, Very Reverend DCOP George Arthur, did not mince words as he cautioned the new IGP against past excesses and urged him to lead with fairness and integrity.
What we expect, police officers expect, that you correct and rectify the administrative and operational harm, blunders and manipulations caused by the immediate past police administration. And at the same time, you build upon the success of the immediate past administration. Police officers will accept fairness and justice in your administration. Every member of the service counts, irrespective of the rank.
He reminded the new IGP of the high expectations placed on him as the head of the police service and called for prayers to guide his leadership.
When some people are given positions, they think that once it's given to them, you can do it. Do your orientation. Consult the past IGPs and they will guide you. Learn to be IGP. Every organization revolves around the leadership. Your failure is our failure. Your success is our success.
For his part, Inspector General of Police Christian Tete GHOne expressed gratitude for the confidence reposed in him. He pledged to foster unity within the police service and work towards ensuring a safer environment for all Ghanaians.
It's my prayer that all of you pray for me so that I will be able to deliver, so that I will not disappoint my gallant followers of the police service. And I know, because we live with God, we will surely accomplish it.
The General Overseer of the Joy House Chapel, Salome Menzo, also called for continuous prayers and unwavering support to help the new IGP succeed in his mandate. Very Reverend DCOP George Arthur later led the congregation in a special prayer for the new IGP and his family. Christian Tete Yohuno became the 25th Guinean to hold the position and the second Gadangbe IGP after E.R.T. Majite, who was Ghana's first indigenous police chief in 1958.
News tonight here on GHOne Television, and I'm Bernice Abubedu-Lansa. We'll bring you business news shortly. Do stay. Now, the finance Olato Forson has outlined measures government plans to implement to stabilize the cedi. This follows its marginal gains against major trading currencies, particularly the US dollar. As of March 14, 2025, the cedi had depreciated by 5.3% against the dollar, showing a slight improvement compared to 7.5% during the same period in 2024. Dr. Forson asserts the government's import substitution strategy will play a crucial role in ensuring foreign exchange stability in the long run.
To maintain this exchange rate stability that we've seen relatively from February 19th, the Ministry of Finance, working with the Central Bank, have outlined a number of policies, and this include the establishment of the Ghana Gold Board to enhance the generation of foreign currency to help the Central Bank accumulate enough forex and to intervene as and when they are supposed to intervene. The Bank of Ghana will also continue the implementation of its FX forward action to support the stability of the Ghana cedi. The government is also front-loading its fiscal consolidation through expenditure reduction, and we believe that will also help in the support of the Ghana cedi. Speaker, aside, we are also planning, as part of the 24-hour economy, to introduce a number of measures which will be announced to Parliament in the coming days, and we believe that will help as a result of our import substitution policy to also support the Ghana cedis.
That'll be all for business news on this edition. We'll be back with more stories. To stay. It's now time for entertainment here on our GHOne, and on today's episode of How Ghanaian Are You, we find out how much citizens love the nation. Provided you have all the resources to relocate, are you willing to stay in Ghana? Khadija Idi has more.
Oh, yes, but not because of economical reasons, but just to explore. I would leave the country.
I would want to visit there, but not to live there. Yeah.
I had intentions of occupying Ghana.
If it is free and it will lead me to greener pastures, I will go.
Oh no, I'm not willing to leave. But when time tells, I can't cheat nature. So
to go and stay there, I'm not sure now.
No. If it's a flight here.
Depends on opportunities.
If the economic conditions there is going to be favorable to me,
I'll be willing to go based on maybe what I'm going to do there.
No.
I'm not sure I'll go.
And in news from elsewhere, the U.S. State Department has announced that South Africa's ambassador to the United States must depart the country by Friday. This decision came after Secretary of State Marco Rubio concluded that Ambassador Ibrahim Russell was no longer welcome in the U.S. He shared this determination on social media, prompting the South African embassy staff to be called to the State Department, where they received an official diplomatic note regarding the situation. According to State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce, Russell's diplomatic privileges and immunities lapsed on Monday, necessitating his exit from the United States by the end of the week. A representative from the South African Foreign Ministry confirmed that Russell remains in the U.S. but plans to leave as soon as possible. And that's how we end tonight's edition of Newsnight here on GHOne Television. And before I go, just coming up shortly on your screens, the Ministry of Labour, Jobs and Employment, in collaboration with Youth Employment Agency and GIZ, presents Work Abroad program, Opportunities Beyond Borders, and it's happening at the La Palm Royal Beach Hotel, and you see that right on your screens. And it's the media launch happening. In attendance, the keynote speaker, Dr. Rashid Pelpo, Minister for Labour, Jobs and Employment, Malik Basantali, CEO of the Youth Employment Agency, and King Taki Teko True II, the Ga Mancha. Let's cross over now. So we'll be bringing you details of that in a moment, but that'll be all for news. Do log on to starfm.com.gh for more news.